Oh, I appreciate it, man. And like you said, if anybody has any questions during the thing, just go ahead and send them my way, and I'd rather kind of do it that way and answer them as quick as I can, and just kind of roll from there. But I'm going to talk about four verticals today, what we call six, and just kind of go over, our beliefs on it, how we teach it, and the freedom that we really kind of give our quarterback with that play in itself. But so you can kind of see our deal there. First, I'll just kind of go through some of our formations, and those are our major ones right there. Where ace is our 2x2, and we also number our receivers from left to right. That's real valuable for us when it comes to our shallow game and when it comes to our screen game. And those receivers keep those numbers all the time. So you got, your X is 1, your H is 2, your Y is 3, your Z is 4. They're always going to have those numbers, just like they're always going to have their position. An X is always going to be an X. And, so when we move them around, so for example, early there, it's going to go 1, 3, 2. And that's just how it goes. Because again, H is always number 2. And, will be valuable in another play down the road for us. But just to kind of give you, a heads up, how we run four verticals, we can run it basically out of all those formations. And we do it a little bit different out of our two backs down there at the bottom, our green and blue formation. But just as far as what we do with the backs, but we can get into that later as well. The rules, I'll go over the rules. But if you guys do want to take a screenshot or something of that, feel free to do it. But I am going to teach those in a little bit more detail. We also teach a bunch of tags, and again, I'll go over that as well. Our stats on 6, it's a play that we run quite a bit. We called it over 80 times, right at 80 times last year. We got the ball out 73 times, whether it was complete or incomplete. But a couple, I guess the other 7 times he scrambled or moved around. But you can see right there we've always completed a pretty good percentage of it, except 2015. We really made a big jump from 15 to 16. We changed how we kind of did it in 2016. From 2015, we were throwing for a bunch of yards on it, even though you can see heck we're 39% in 2015, but we're still at 11 over 11 yards per attempt, which is when you are completing it, it's big. But we just weren't very efficient with it. So we changed a little bit of how we did it right before 2016. And in my honest opinion, I felt like this last year, although percentage wise we were the best in 17, I felt like last year was the best we were actually at the play. A lot of that changed when I visited at Washington State this past summer, and this past spring, a year ago, right around this time. Spent 3 or 4 days up there. Saw a 6-day, which I'll talk to you in a minute about what a 6-day is and how they install four verticals there with Coach Leach. And I don't know if there's anybody in the country who throws four verticals more than they do as far as an actual staple play. And so, it's a good place to learn. And then you can see where it also really affected our touchdown interception ratio. It's the best we've ever had was this past year. It was a real efficient play there too at 59%. So, I mean, if you're completing 59% or over 50% of your balls, when the base of the play is go deep, I think it's something that's worth it to you. That's one of the big things when I take a look at four verticals. Everybody has four verticals in their offense. It doesn't matter if you're, a wing T team, if you're, an option, triple option, pro style, West Coast, it doesn't matter. Everybody has four verticals in their offense at some point, whether it's Hail Mary or something. With us, we just recognized that it was something that we needed. just because of its ability to create space. It does a really good job of, we do a good job of spreading you out with our formations, obviously, making you defend sideline to sideline, but you're also making them defend vertically. And, there's a value to it even when you miss. There is a big value in four verticals when you're willing to take a shot on somebody, even if you miss, you threaten them a little bit of, okay, they're willing to try and come over the top. You might make that corner back up a little bit more, make him think a little bit more. So, it's something now that we run a lot, and we obviously adjusted quite a bit. There's a lot more to it than just, trying to take it over the top. That's not exactly what we're trying to do with it, although that is the base of it. But we tag a lot of things off of it, and there's been times where we've just called that play for an entire half. I remember a JV game this past year. We were not playing very well, and I just went up to my freshman quarterback and said, look, you're going to run four verticals the entire second half. We weren't going to win the game at this point. We were playing one of the better JV teams we played this past season. And I told him, you're going to get really good at this play. I mean, you're going to figure out at least how to run it. So, I said, you can make checks, you can make tags, but you can run the ball, you can throw four verticals, or you can throw a screen. And that's basically the three options I gave him. And we moved it much better in the second half than we did in the first. And I think it started to somewhat click with him. But, we do value it quite a bit. Again, great way to create space. It's also a really good way to feature your running back when you can drop it to him underneath and allow him to, work off space, which in our offense, even though we throw the ball quite a bit, our running back is one of our better players, and I think should generally be one of your better players. I mean, even if you are throwing it, we're like 70% pass, he's going to be getting a lot of touches, whether it's, he's probably getting almost all the runs, and then you're going to throw it to him quite a bit too. So, when it comes to like all-purpose yards, he's a major player, and he should lead our team in all-purpose, and he should be close to top of the conference really in all-purpose. So it's a good way to get him the ball underneath once you've cleared it all out, allow him to work. There's a value to that. The biggest difference from 15 to 16 was just we were looking at that percentage and trying to figure out a way to get that up. And that was kind of the big take with that. That's kind of our 3-day install. I showed that last time. Going to run right over that because the first thing we do is we install 4 verticals. So this is really day 2, 3, and 4, what I'm showing you right here, because day 1 with us is a 6-day. And a 6-day is we just run 6, what we call 4 verticals the entire day. We teach tags, which is, all of our route adjustments off that. I'm going to share another screen real quick. So we teach tags off of it, stops, hitches, slants, corners, which we call it. It's an out. It's a 10-yard out. So we're teaching tags, and it's also going to help us down the road when it comes to, because you can tag a route on any play. Like if we're running, 92, for example, and you want to tag, which is what we call mesh, and you want to tag a guy in a post, it's transitioned from this 6-day period where we're looking at grass, we're looking at space, we're looking at numbers. And so basically on 6-day, we give him the option to, throw 4 verticals. You have to throw 4 verticals. You can run the ball or you can throw a screen. So it's kind of like what I did with that JV quarterback in that second half, was made it real basic for him, and he can tag routes too. I mean, there's, you're not going to be completing 59% of your passes like we are just throwing vertical the entire time. It's not very likely to do that. So you're teaching him grass, you're teaching him space, and that's kind of the basics of it. But so I'll start with it right here. This is ace, or 2x2 for us, and then 6 is the play. So it'd just be, ace 6. And that's kind of the basic way that I would signal it to. Our quarterback has a bunch of different ways to signal it and get into it. And so talk about the outside receivers first, because they kind of got the unique rule. Mandatory outside releases is kind of what we want, starting on the top of the numbers. We don't want them to be expanded any further than the bottom of the numbers, and ideally. So we're real big on, if they're getting pushed, we want them to push back, squeeze that landmark back down, and try and stay, no wider than the bottom of the numbers. Now, obviously sometimes that doesn't always happen exactly like that, but that's kind of what we're shooting for. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we're trying to coach. And then they have the adjustment there. So as you can see, that happens at 15 yards. I try to draw it to scale as best I can, but what they're taught is versus a man turn corner. So what do I mean by a man turn? So, if this corner right here, turns his butt to the quarterback and turns and runs with the Z vertically, we consider that a man turn. Vice versa, if this quarterback is in a stance and he's kind of looking in like that at the quarterback pre-snap, he got his butt to the sideline, we're kind of considering that a zone. So it's, a basketball shuffle versus a man turn with the actual receiver. That being said, if it's a man turn, we're going to tell the Z and the X, the two outside receivers, to stay vertical the whole time. They're just going to run as fast as they can and stay on the vertical line. If they get a zone turn, which you will be able to find out at about 15 yards, we want them to run what we call a dropout. And there is a difference between a dropout and a stop with us. And the only difference is the depth. But I'll get into stops and stuff like that later. But a dropout happens at 15 yards, and we want them to turn in and then back out and down to the sideline. Again, pushing to 15 on that, just to make sure we're kind of clear and we get a real decisive look from what that corner is going to do. We're also real big in, teaching this in our pat and go period as well. What we want from these outside receivers as they're outside releasing, squeezing back, is we really do want to emphasize the over-the-shoulder catch and looking it into the hands. I'm not real big on turning up and, facing the ball with it like that. It's easier for a DB to contest that, knock the ball down when you got your hands turned to it. So we are real big on boxing it out, letting it come over the shoulder. And when we do our pat and go period, I tell them, I don't care if you drop it, but I do want you to purposely try and make that catch. If the quarterback underthrows it, slow down, adjust to it, slow your feet down, and then try and make that catch over the top. So we're really trying to push on making that catch. So we do want to, adjust the ball, use our body to box out that defender.
Got a couple questions here, Coach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why a dropout instead of a comeback?
It's essentially the same thing. It's essentially the same thing. So I'll show you what the route kind of looks like, but even when even when we were at when I was at Washington State, here's a real good example of what that route looks like. This is a photo or video I took. I guess you can see that too, can't you?
Yep.
All right. So, this is your dropout, pushing a 15, and it turns in, but it works down and out. So, that's your dropout route. That's what it is. So it's again at 15 yards, but same thing. We do want to turn in. The big reason we want to turn in, you can see the ball a little bit quicker. Rather than turning out and then coming over your back shoulder and having to find it. Here when you turn into it, you can see. We want our receivers to, at all times, if they can, see the ball come out of the quarterback's hand. I mean, that's a big part with us when it comes to receivers dropping balls, which I'll get into that too on this outside receiver play too. If you can see the ball come out of the quarterback's hands, you got a real good chance of being able to make that catch.
Got a couple more here for you, Coach.
Go ahead.
If you tag Z on a hitch, does the Y's release change? Is he protecting the hitch with his leverage on the flat player?
Yeah, I'll get into that. We want him to outside release all the time if you can. Ideally, I mean, there's times where he's busting it out there. If he's talking about the Sam trying to get underneath it, yeah, we want him to outside release. But I mean, there's times where he just flying, you got to go underneath it. But yeah, ideally we want to outside release it.
And then one more here, Coach. For Pat and Go, what's the target area for the wide receiver to catch the ball? 10 yards or 20 yards down the field?
We really want him to kind of mix it up. I would say normally about 25 yards down the field is kind of your base on that. But, if he throws them a little bit short, which is fine, we want him to kind of get used to throwing it down the field at any point. And our receivers kind of getting used to running and looking back. So, you got another one, but I'll get it specifically. Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. So these, talking about the dropout, obviously that occurs at 15 yards. When you get a man turn from these corners, it's an automatic vertical. Okay. The big point with that too, other than the, coming over the top, trying to box him out, stack him, stack your defender, catch it over the shoulder. That's the whole point of Pat and Go, is kind of getting used to that catch and getting back in your landmark and squeezing that type of stuff. But we're also teaching our quarterbacks how to throw back shoulders. And so it's up to our quarterback to decide when to throw a back shoulder. And what we tell them is quarterbacks make decisions, receivers do not. And they do not guess. They do not speculate, nothing. They run. So with that being said, let's say you're this corner right here and you're already starting to back up and you turn and you man turn and you run vertically. If you're this Z and he's man turned and turning, as soon as he makes that transition with his hips. So if I'm playing DB on you, as soon as I do that and start to turn, we teach our receivers to get their head back to the quarterback to try and find the ball. And we want them to still run full speed down the field as fast as they can, but running and looking back. We do not want them, again, to guess anything like that when it comes to, I may get a back shoulder here, but if that DB has turned too early before we've broke that cushion, our quarterback, we're teaching him to try and throw it back shoulder. And it's not necessarily a back, when you think of the term back shoulder. I'm not a big fan of that term. I kind of want him to just throw it on a line where he's going, if that kind of makes sense. And you'll notice that there's kind of a normal cushion on any kind of like back shoulder throw, just naturally between your receiver and your DB. I mean, they're if they're running right here, there's your line, and then there's your corner, running with them. So you want to throw it right on this line, but you'll also be able to see the back of your receiver as he's going. Just throw it right at that spot. So we're really kind of teaching that quite a bit, as far as we're doing that a bunch in one-on-ones. And I don't know if if you guys run one-on-ones, as much as we do, you don't really ever see your corner zone turning in one-on-ones. He's always basically going to man turn with it. So the dropouts are going to come fairly naturally, as far as like, all right, well, we're going to get to the dropout and throw the dropout. But when it comes to those man turns, constantly getting man turns, you got a good opportunity to throw it over the top, which happens a lot in high school because DBs are for the most part, not great at flipping their hips or making sure that receiver doesn't break his cushion too quickly. A lot of times when you throw one-on-ones, you end up throwing the fade ball over the top. There are times where he's just getting out and turning and running, and now we're really wanting him to get used to throwing those back shoulders. And that's something that has to be repped quite a bit from what I can tell. Those we do one-on-ones pretty much every single day, and try to get pretty good at that part of it. So I hope that does a good, understanding for the outside receivers. Our inside receivers, they are taught basically the train tracks of the hash. We want them to stay vertically down the hash if they can, and they'll sit in if their hash is closed. So it's not necessarily it kind of is a capped, uncapped type of rule. But, if this safety right here, for example, comes down, if he steps down at any point in time, the Y is going to haul it and try and keep it vertically. If he's on this hash and he comes out into a cover 2 type look and he's moving outside, the Y is going to get inside of it, try and stay down the hash and haul it. If he's dropping straight back down the hash, and he's got to be dropping. If he's dropping down the hash, we're going to teach our inside receivers there to sit down at around 10 yards and look for the ball there. And they have some freedom to not just sit, but to also work into this window here, essentially between your Mike and your Sam. And even if it's a 3-4, it's still, between your Mike and your Sam in that spot right there. So they push in, and then they can sit down if the hash mark, if their train tracks basically are covered up. Same thing over there with the H. He's got the same rule. Now we teach the Y to be the hot for this. So he's got his eyes on the Mike. If the Mike ever blitzes or the first inside backer to him, so we're not really going to consider the Sam, even if the Sam's lined up right there. If the Sam comes down like that and can come, he can run the slant. But what we really want is him to kind of ID this Mike. If the Mike blitzes, he's going to run the hot, which is our slant, replace it, and can get the ball right there. The tailback. The tailback is going to run basically 5 yards down the field and sit. And we want him to be real decisive on that look. And he's going to run to the Mike or the nearest, away from the nearest defender, and sit down. Okay, so when he's there, he then has the option to stay or burst out, but he's going to wait till the quarterback makes eye contact with him before he bursts away. We teach this too. So, say the Mike is the one who eventually takes him. He's going to squat right here until the quarterback's gotten off the Z or the Y or wherever he's at in his progression, gets down to him. And then once he's there, if the Mike's on his hip, then he's going to burst. And it should give you 2 or 3 steps. So he'll kind of burst out, boom, away from the leverage. And then you dump it to him underneath. In all honesty, we don't get to the F too often out of ace. I'd like to do it more because a lot of times that's a really good way to get him the ball. But as far as how we teach it, that's how we teach it. So the read, if you want to get to the read of this play, what you're teaching your quarterback to do is basically the opposite of what we were telling him to do with mesh. If you heard what I talked about with 92 last week, we're kind of looking for the softest corner. On 2x26, we're looking for the tightest corner. We're really kind of looking for the most dramatic of the two is kind of the best way for me to put it, the most extreme. So, if you got both these guys here at 7 yards or something like that, in that sense, you can either leave it vertical or you can tag them on a route. And again, we're teaching all of our tags on this first day and 6th day, and it's just a different hand signal. And you can make up whatever you want for it. I mean, you can make it, stop or, a hitch or whatever you want to give it. It doesn't really matter, but we're going to teach our tags off of that.
Coach, if the Mike blitzes, does the F stay in the block, or what is his protection responsibilities?
Yeah, he would essentially kind of stay in and notice that and pick it up. There's a lot of times too where we are free releasing the mic or free releasing the back, but in that scenario, like if he came up, in a 4-1 look like that, yeah, we'd want him to just stay in because the slant's going to come so much quicker anyway, and just replace that spot. But yeah, anyway, so we're kind of teaching him to look for the most dramatic side. So say you got press right here from this side corner. That's the side you want to start with. You're not going to tag a route against press. We don't want him to anyway. You can tag a stop. You can tag a stop against press and it worked just fine. But ideally, the whole point of verticals is, what's some of the best things you can do against press? Run a slant or go vertical. So we want him to keep it vertical and try to attack that. Look for the space right here off the, make sure this strong safety stays tight on his hash, and then you're trying to throw the one-on-one ball to the outside right there. Same thing, say you got, this corner, standing at about 8-9 yards already in his own turn, something like that. Well, this corner's, standing at around 5-6, not really showing you anything. Z's a really good time to tag a route. If he's soft enough, tag a hitch. You can always tag a stop. You can tag, say he's way inside, you can tag an out. And again, my best advice to this is just get a simple hand signal for all of these routes and then just teach it, teach it off leverage. So, but that's kind of how you're doing it. So it's not, with us, it's not really the old school how mummy kind of way of scan. He had a way of going, you start the X, then you go to the H, and you go to the Y, then you go to the Z. Well, we're running 4 verticals. Very rarely are you able to scan across the whole field without getting whacked or something happens. So we want them to pick a side and then attack the leverage off that side with either a tag or taking advantage of the press corner, just attacking the most dramatic side. And as you go through your cut-ups, you'll kind of figure out that's the side you should kind of work to. And you coach it up, obviously, in your practices too. But that's kind of the base of it as far as that goes. Try to make sure I don't leave any kind of tag or anything like that out. Yeah, a lot of times too, with this progression, like say you've tagged the outside guy on a route and say you tagged him on a stop or an out, and then all of a sudden the corner jumps down. So our progression on this is going to go outside to in to back. And that's essentially what we want to do. So, again, I'll draw this back up, but that's kind of your progression, outside, inside, back. So again, or, he squats on this, then you're looking for, corner squats on a stop or on an out, takes it away. Z's out of the picture. All right, now we're going to see if the Y is hauling it because the safety came down, or if he's going to curl up and sit because the safety backed up. Let's say the safety backed out. Now we're playing the game on the SAM, whether you can get basically the curl flat of that on the SAM. So that's kind of where your progression sort of goes. And a lot of times when you got, a real soft safety and a real soft corner, you're going to get your inside receivers too, because that safety is so concerned with the outside receiver getting vertical.
Got a couple questions here, Coach.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever give ownership to the quarterback to make the tag call?
He has complete ownership of it. I have no ownership of it. Yeah, he runs the show on that. So he's making every single tag for us. I am not tagging a thing. I give him 6. He decides what he wants to do with it. So again, he decides where you are starting, and he decides if we're tagging anything. I let him do that completely. So, and that's kind of the freedom of it, So, and you can give him more and more freedom as you go along. And the best way that I can kind of explain this thing as it was taught to me was, with the 6-day 1, you're teaching him to attack grass. you're teaching him how to tag routes. And then eventually what it leads to is you're teaching him to check plays, because he's learning to see grass. So once he gets to where he's checking individual routes, he's eventually going to evolve as he gets better and better and smarter about this type thing, into checking plays, into attacking grass. So that's, everybody, our quarterbacks check a ton with us, but it all evolves from this. It starts here really with us. So yeah, he has total control on that. And there will be times where he's like, hey, I want to, this guy's soft and man turning, I want to throw the Y on an out. Well, now he's checking to 94. So he's gone from going 4 verticals to Y sail. And there's not many times that he's necessarily going to do that, but there will be times where he's like, dang, that's a 4-1 box. We should just check to a run, which I got drawn up right there. Or, dang, that corner's really soft over there. Why don't I just throw him a quick screen out here and forget the whole hitch? Or, he can throw a hitch too if you want to, but it all kind of comes down into the same thing. So you're eventually teaching him how to change plays, how to check plays.
Awesome. Can you discuss the drop of the footwork for the quarterback?
Yeah. So what we're doing, especially with him tagging routes, is we want one big and then kind of a hop. And I don't want to really call it a hop because I've never really liked the term hop. It's not a hitch because he's not stepping up, which, I guess you can call it a hitch, but it's one big and then setting your feet. So it's a step, set your feet outside, and then reset into the inside, and then reset into the back. I call them resets instead of hitches, because in my mind, a hitch is, hitch up, but you can call it a hitch if you want to, but that's kind of our footwork on it. One big, getting your back cleats in the ground, and that's we're real big on that, getting all your cleats in the ground so you can make a strong, accurate throw, and then, moving from 1 to 2 to the back.
A couple other questions just came in. How long do you stay on the outside vertical before moving your eyes to the inside and then to the back?
Well, it depends on what happens. So, again, this is all based off leverage. So, like if you get a quick transition, you probably want to throw that one-on-one ball on the outside. But if this corner has stepped up or made anything that you don't like, if his first move from being real soft is up and he collisions and it's ugly, well, we're going to get off of it. I don't time anything. I don't have a stopwatch out there being like, that's too slow. I'm not doing that. That's too technical. I want him to get a feel for it. But, anything that would, or say, he starts the outside and that Sam does fly the heck out there, flies underneath, trying to get underneath the dropout or trying to get underneath the stop or an out or whatever. You got to feel that and get back to the inside. So that's kind of the rhythm on that.
Is the progression still outside, inside, and back versus one high?
Yeah. So, obviously, in a sense like that, it's all based off leverage. If you get one high and you got press in the outsides, you can still try and take one of your one-on-one outside shots right there, one of your one-on-one outside fades. Well, I have a look on here too where just the safety structure was kind of strange, where this safety was so far in the apex right here between the Y and the Z, and he essentially just holds, makes sure that the safety stays out there, and then comes to the inside. So, and then, there will be scenarios where you get like a one high. We don't get that very often, like an old school 4-4 one high type deal. And you're just throwing opposite of him. But we also allow him to make a tag for a hitch. So if he tags a hitch out here to the outside receiver, it automatically changes the inside receiver's routes to more of the slot fade. So if he does tag a hitch to Z, the Y now is going to run it more outside and take that vertical grass. So if he got one high, he can do that. He can tag the hitch, make sure the corner comes down on the hitch and it is man, and then throw the fade away from the single high safety. So that's one way to attack it if you're getting that.
Okay. How do you run 6 out of green and blue?
Yeah, I'll get into that too. The big thing with all right, I'll just try to eliminate this. I need to do it. I need to show you how to trips too, and try and show you some cut ups as well. But if we're in green, which would be something like that, we would call him a B, but it's going to look like that. And then the now this Y kind of has more freedom to work in that grass as well. You can take the middle in two back. So now if you got that kind of look where it was too high for some reason against two back, and that safety is hauling back, he can now bend it in the middle if he feels that grass and take that. If it is a one high, he's rolled down, whatever, free safety now. Again, keep it screaming down the seam if you feel that safety drop down and take that vertical lane. So that's kind of our deal with it out of green and blue. And of course, very similar to trips, we're going to look at our single first for that matchup and try to figure out if there's a tag there or what there. But that's how we do it out of green and blue. Got the back, swinging to the two receiver side, and then we're over the ball checking the weak side backer. And the Y in green, this is green, still has the hot first inside backer. So if he did get that, he's kind of hotting now off the Sam. Something like that. First one inside him. He blitzes, replace it, slam, take it, move on. And then 3x1. You got another one? Go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, we'll get this last question, Coach, and then we'll hit the 3x1 because someone just asked about 3x1 anyway.
Okay.
Can you only tag outside receivers? If not, how do they distinguish who's receiving the tag?
Yes, we're only tagging outside receivers. Yes, so that the tags go to the outside guys for the most part. Now, if we want to tag an inside guy, we're almost changing the play. So, like, say he wants to tag an inside guy on a quick out. Well, he's changing the play to 619. So he just would give the signal for 619. That's kind of where I'm talking about. It eventually leads into changing the play completely, checking the play. But the tags – the tags of a slant, a hitch, a stop, an out, a corner, we call it, again, is going to the outside guys. All right, so 3x1, same deal for the outside guys. Man turn, automatic vertical, hip transitions real quickly in that man turn. We're thinking about a back shoulder, but we're not making any decisions. We are running full speed. It's up to our quarterback to make decisions, not receivers. And so again, that's kind of the rule. Zone turn, corner, dropouts at 15, and then your tags can kind of come off that as well. But most of the time in early, which this is trips, or 3x1 to the right, when we're tagging something, we're tagging it to the single receiver. I mean, there's no real doubt about that. But, so we're kind of looking here first for those tags. You got a real soft corner. You can take a hitch. You got press. You want to obviously leave it on that vertical, not tag anything. You got him at 6 yards in a zone turn stance already. You give him a stop. He's way inside leverage, playing at like 7-8 yards, almost scared to death of posts because we do run a good amount of posts. Tag him on an out. You feel like, he's press and this wheel's coming way in tight, something like that. Tag him on a slants. Things like that kind of lead to our tags over there. You can always want to start there and look for that one-on-one matchup as best you can. And this is something that I think I picked up when I was at Washington State more than anything, was the total freedom that you give your quarterback of where to start on 4 verticals. And again, it's not, like I talked about it out of 2x2, it's not a left to right scan. And, we're giving him options on alignment and based off how they line up and your numbers and your space and your leverage of where to start. Same thing here when it comes to 3x1. So, say you got cover 2 and, or you got a cover 2 look over here in this weak safety. It's just a little bit off the hash like that. Really not looking to go the X. What we're going to start with most likely is now the field. So, I mean, that would kind of eliminate the single receiver. We want to look for the field. And we're all basing that, for the most part, off the strong safety of where he lines up. So if he's walled between the Y and the H pre-snap, we're going to start on the Y. And so now we're going to go Y to H to back. You don't always, that's for the most part how we run it, but a lot of other times too, as far as what the back's doing there, is kind of coming across, checking and getting through into this area and getting the flats. Another real good way to do it. Just kind of keep it the same way we were doing it out two back, just swinging them to the field. And that's really that's probably the easier way to teach this. But the Y still has the rule of kind of replacing the inside backer that first comes. So if he runs a slant, blitzes, run a slant, replace it. Again, move on. But we're basing this as far as where you start off this strong safety. If you got something like that, where it's almost one high-ish, we're gonna still look at the Y, but we're gonna have a real good inclination to try and get to the H down the seam. If he's down and you kind of get in a three roll-ish type thing, we want to throw it to the seam, and if the strong safety walls back with it, you're getting to your back underneath. So, I mean, there is kind of a tell of where the structure is of the defense of where you start. It's not a coverage thing. It's not, okay, versus cover 2, we want to throw it here, versus cover 3, we want to throw it here. It's solely based off alignment and leverage for the most part. So you can start on the Y, you can start on the H. There's certain times you can start on the Z. Say you got that. You got something like that, and hey, that's press one-on-one out there. I'm going to let them run the vertical because say they're playing like mini coverage and they're locking one and playing, some sort of match read in here and it's press over there. That's where you start on the Z, take the vertical and go. But if you start on the X, for some reason on the single, you want to go X to Y to H to back, although a lot of times it goes X to Y to back just because it happens quicker that way. If you start on the Y, you want to go Y to H to back. If you start on the H, you want to go, for the most part, just peeking Y to confirm what you thought. It's a real quick peek. H to Z on this dropout to back. So you're always kind of moving on trips one man over down to the back. As far as where you start is all based off the leverage of the secondary.
Couple questions here, Coach. Can you talk about the Y's release and how similar it is to Y cross? And also, what technique would you teach the Y if he's getting walled off on a defender route?
Yeah, so a couple ways to kind of go about that. A lot of people say we want him to get to that opposite hash as quick as we possibly can. I want him to ideally push vertical for about 6 yards and then get to that hash over there, kind of round it just to stay in this window right here of over the ball where you're gonna get the throw as long as you can on that deeper drag. And I got some cut ups kind of showing that basically. But you want to stay in that window as long as you can in my sense. Now, if the Sam's going to wall you, get under his face and just get around. That's absolutely fine. And say he tries to knock you, cool, cut, slip underneath him, get back up, and then round it around. And, now we're going to play basically, again, the curl flat game of this H, working in this window around this Sam with the back swinging. We're going to kind of play that curl flat game. And, if he sorry about that. If he's outside of you, which he probably is going to be, like in that scenario, hold it vertical for about 6 yards and then cross around like that. So I hope that answered his question. If you got anything else, too, just shoot it my way.
Yep, you're good, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's kind of the basics of it. It's, as far as where you start, it's kind of based off that secondary. So I'll try to show you some cut ups of us kind of running this All right, so I know this is blurry. This was the first play, play 2 of the game. In this scenario, here we're playing, a team that's playing it a little bit softer here. As you can see down at the bottom, this is ace 6. And so our quarterback, based off the leverage here, is going to tag a route to the outside receiver. Make sure this audio is off so you're not getting any of that. Yeah, all right. Tags a route to the outside receiver. Now, in my ideal world, he should probably tag an out, right? Because that guy's such far inside leverage. He's scared again of the outside guy running a post. And because he's, bottom of the numbers and our guy right here, or top of the numbers, our guy right here is close to the bottom, real easy for him to just tag the out or tag the hitch because he's already in a man turn, so he's going to back up. But he tags him on a stop. And I showed you what the stop looks like, and it does already work out. So because it works out, it's good as well. You also talked about the drop. Target's taking the one big and kind of hopping. He takes an old school 3-step drop right here, which is fine. He's got fairly good feet for us. So he takes it 1, 2, 3, kind of gets that hop anyway. And you can see him kind of cutting it right there. And there's your stop route. So the stop looks a lot like the dropout, just happens at 10 yards. As far as the other receivers, the H up top is wrong. As soon as he steps down like he does, the H should keep it screaming right down the seam. We had the most turnover of any spot on our team at H this past season. Up top, that's a zone turn look. With that corner, he should run a 15-yard dropout. Down here, the Y, got to read this safety the entire time. If he can get inside of him and keep it down the hash, that's fine. But if he bails straight out, he should sit. So he should probably sit right there in my ideal world. The Y should stop. The H should keep going. And the X should drop out. And then the back here, that's the nearest defender. Try to work away or sit in this open spot if you're open. But timing works pretty well. And again, they're just based off the leverage. He tags the route, throws the stop. Try to get away from these motions as much as I can too to start. Okay. All right, so again, 2 by 2, you're not getting press anywhere. They're fairly even as far as the corners are concerned. If he tagged anything down here in the bottom, I'd like him to tag a hitch right here. Just take advantage of the real soft cushion. And this is a 2nd and 2 or whatever it is. But he tags a stop to the X up top because the guy's already in that zone turnish stance. He's not in the real good stance, 1. But 2, he's already turned his butt to the sideline. So he tags him on the stop. And you can see what we're wanting him to do is kind of, you always want to stick a route. I don't care if it's a vertical route too. You always want to teach those receivers to stick all routes, even verticals. So even if you're getting in there, just boom, jab, just get that, defender's head a little bit twisted up as far as what, psychologically mess with them a little bit here too. Stick, get into that back hip area, that blind spot area, and drop out and try to get lost. So that's kind of how we teach these things on the stops and the dropouts. So there's the stop, and just an easy 10-yard completion based off leverage. As far as the receivers, I'm fine with the Y down here hauling it. There's that one, but he's so far inside the hashes, I want him to just keep hauling it. Your H is doing a really good job of outside release in there, keeping him off this stop route. But once he kind of gets back on his landmark, he should sit right there. The F is starting to move a little bit too quickly. I'd rather him kind of get here, stop, and then burst. So. Okay, so this team, one of the better teams we played, they won the state championship, I think, in 2017, and they always out-athlete us, and you can see that here by trying to zero us, and they always zero us early in the game, and they generally get out of it because we do a lot of rubs. So he tags a slant on this one. it's kind of like how I talked about when he tags the hitch, is it turns it to 66, because if he tags a guy on the outside to a hitch, the slot now is going to run that slot fade. Same thing with kind of a slant. If he tags him on a slant, it's going to turn into slot fade slant, which he tags here. He gives the outside guy a slant and bangs it against man coverage. You can see the slot fades kind of go in there. So, good way to pick up some yards on the team that's generally a little bit more athletic than you and that stuff. All right, here's one where we talked about kind of starting with the inside guys by alignment. So here's where that alley defender or that safety's kind of in the alley here between the Y and the Z. So, again, you don't want to tag anything right here. You want to leave that vertical as best you can because it's press. That's what you want. But he's also he's going to start over here because this is kind of funky. I mean, it's again, kind of getting to that more dramatic side. So he's going to just look outside, kind of confirm that strong safety does stay outside, which he does. And the guy who's supposed to be running with the Y just bumps and then loses him. He throws it right down the seam. And there's just nothing home. So, but not a bad decision to start on that side. If he started with the Y by alignment too, you can't really fault him. I'd kind of be curious to ask him where he started on that one. But all right, we'll get into some 3x1 clips. Here's one where we talked about, where you want to start. With this stand-up defender here, your corner a little bit tighter, like 6, and it's kind of manish, and then this safety over closer to this hash over here, he starts with the field, and he's kind of, again, as I showed you early, kind of thinking about maybe going with the H, just because, the safety's inside leverage here, the Y. The Y is going to almost run right into it. So you still want to peek to the Y just to kind of confirm everything you kind of think about pre-snap. But with the intention of getting to the H. So the H, outside releases, gets right down the seam. He kind of confirms it, throws it to the H. Not a great throw. This was 2017, a junior at that point. He got better as the year went along. But it's a good decision of why you would want to start on that side, getting to the H. And, you're also fine of starting on the single if you want to. Let's say that guy did do a really good job of walling with the H. In this scenario, you go up top. He may give him a stop up there. But, throwing the stop up top, you could have been fine with that as well. But there are times, too, where he'll tag something, but they move or, he tags it early in the play, early in the sequence, and then the corner steps down and he just leaves him on the tag but still gets back to, just changing as far as where he starts the other side of the field. Now, this was this year. We kind of saw this, too, by how they played it earlier in the game as far as this flat defender here really wasn't moving his feet. This is a 4th and 11, but we went for it in this scenario just because we kind of knew how they were going to play it. And, the safety here is over the Y. So we're having the intention of starting with the H, kind of going H to Z to back. And as we start on the H, he presses it, doesn't wall back vertically with it, and then we just shoot it in the seam. I think this is a pretty good throw, just shooting it right in there and scoring. On the outside, should have kept it. We should keep it vertically with that man turn. On the bottom, he stops. I don't know why he stops, but he should keep going. You can tag double moves. So all these things come with double moves as well. We tagged a hitch and go on that. I'm not really going to show that. Doesn't really matter. I don't want to show that. All right, so here's one when we're in early and he starts the field. I'm not going to confirm where he started exactly, but he doesn't start with the boundary because he's got, this 3-4 look. They're dropping 8 on us the entire night. Outside the tackle there, him a little bit tighter. So he works with the field. Most time, if he just starts the field, the easiest way to teach it too, if you're not exactly sure, just always teach it Y to H to back. Like if you think this is kind of getting too complicated for you, start with the single. For some reason, you don't like the single, so you got pressed and it kind of looks like a cover 2 look. If you want to really simplify it, go YH back, YH back, YH back, which is number 3 to 2 to the back. So in this year, this was a junior quarterback in 17, and we were not very good in 2017. We kind of simplified it to YH back. But so there he goes Y. The Mike runs and walls with it vertically to the H. And here's kind of where I was talking about. You kind of get that curl flat type deal going around this outside linebacker right here. So he walls out. Your H is train tracks of going down the hash. The guy's bailing back out straight on those hash marks. Now he can bend it inside, and that's where you're throwing it. I think that's a really good look of when you would throw the H on that sitting in zone.
There's a question here, Coach. In early, do you ever get to the Z on his dropout?
Rarely do we get it there. Most of the time, like I said, to kind of simplify, it would be H or YH back. There are times where he would start on H based off alignment, but it's very, very rare. And I don't even know if we have a cut up of it, of where he would go HZ to back. And I like it against a lot of teams that would play us a certain way of cover 3, where the corners are essentially playing in between, say this corner's kind of playing in between the H and the Z, for example, and then you're kind of down here. So you got something like that, so you're starting H by alignment. Say you got, which, it's possible, something like that. All right. Now you kind of starting with that H based off alignment because the safety's so far inside the Y. So you're looking to see if he can scream it. A lot of times if he does step and then he starts to clean over, then the ball will get out to the Z. We've hit it in scrimmages. I don't know if we've hit it in games, but we play 1 or 2 really good teams in scrimmages before the season starts, and they're really good at teaching, cover 3 as far as the corners, especially in 2x2, are somewhat responsible for defending both, while the safety tries to play a little bit of both too. But yeah, that's when it would get to the Z. It's a little bit more rare though, but it's possible. And then of course you can start with the Z if you get pressed and you got like a mini coverage where it's locked on the outside receiver. That's for sure.
Another question here, Coach. with a smaller roster size, how many different wide receiver spots do your kids have to learn, and what's the best way to teach them the rules of every spot on every play?
Yeah, that's a real good question. So I'm trying to think of how we've done it in the past. We try to go too deep at every spot, but obviously it never really works out that well. So we always want them to somewhat learn 2 spots. So, say your Y learns Y, but he also learns Z. And then your Z learns Z, but he also learns like Y, would kind of be one way to do it. Or another way to do it too, which I'm trying to think of the best way to do it right off the top of my head. But you can go your 2 slots, learn the 2 slot positions. So your Y and your H are kind of interchangeable. You have a guy who works at Y, but you also want him to somewhat learn H. It's tough to do it with the smaller roster, and we got a smaller roster as anybody. We got real banged up a receiver this past year. Luckily, we've worked the tags and stuff, even though the slot receivers, although they're not receiving the tags, they know what the tags are. So you can kind of put them out there and then just let your quarterback tag them on a route, which kind of somewhat helps you sometimes, which did help us in the playoffs because we had a Y that had to bump out to Z. Never played Z before. And I just asked him, before he went out there, I was like, the tags? He's like, yeah, I know what the tags are. And they're like, all right, well, he's just going to give you the signal for what route to run based off the play. So that kind of helped us. But the H and the Y are probably good to kind of co-learn each other, and then the outside guys kind of co-learn what they want to do as well. So if one guy goes down, he's a little bit more important than what your kind of scheme is than the other one. Take him and move him to the better spot. But that's also kind of up to you, as far as how you want to do that too. If you're a guy who believes in, next man up, if you're the X, learn the X. And, it's better to have one guy possibly be wrong than taking your X and moving him to Z, and now moving a new guy into X and then possibly not both being great, so you kind of have to battle that as best you can. But I would have each receiver learn 2 spots, and it does save you a little bit. Now, as far as how you want to go about it, I'd probably do slots learn, or inside receivers learn inside receivers, outside receivers learn outside receiver spots. All right, getting back to it's the same. All right, so here's one where he tags a route on the bottom. I think you can tag a hitch versus that look, especially with him being inside. I think you can tag an out. He tags him on a stop. They were kind of messing with us as far as showing one thing, showing another. And if he did work the field versus that, where the safety here is over the H, you want him to start on the Y. And again, if this one's more down, this one's kind of playing more, over the Y, peak Y, but you're kind of thinking H to Z. So, in this scenario here, though, he does tag it on the single because there's nothing apex outside the box. He feels like he's one-on-one with this safety inside the hash there. So, again, quarterback has total freedom to tag what we want. Tags him on the stop. This kid was also showing a bunch of zone turns in film. So that is one thing that I like to figure out in film before we play each opponent is, what does this corner do compared to that corner? Are they both zone turners in nature? Does one like to man turn, the other one like to zone turn? Do they both like to man turn? I really do want to try and figure that out from, scouting opponents. And we knew 4 was a real big zone turn type player. So tags him in that stop. That's kind of, again, getting lost in that back hip. I hope this is playing clean for you guys. You can see it, stops. Kind of look like that in that back hip, throwing the outside, and then down the sideline. All right, so here he's got press over here up top, and he signaled this play. He changed this play because he wanted to throw a one-on-one ball. He felt like that kid was kept man-turning and was too tight. So he changed this play to 4 verticals. If he worked the field for some reason on this too, you kind of want him to have the initial thought of going to the H. Again, maybe just peeking Y and making sure this safety doesn't run out. And you're not getting that ball right there. Again, the Y is looking for blitz right there. If he does blitz, he's going to replace it. But as far as what this guy would think pre-snap is make sure he doesn't move off because we're going H to Z to back. But he changed this play because of the press corner up top. And that's where he goes. The H needs to keep going here. He's wrong. He needs to run it right down the seam and score. But leaves on the vertical. And this is where that pat and go drill will really pay off for you. So his receiver is probably the best one we got at it. But as far as getting him stacked, looking up, not back, which if you ever hear Chris Napper talk about wide receiver play, he's one of the best at it as far as looking up for the ball and then stacking that defender and then making the over-the-shoulder catch. And that's pretty much perfect as far as how we want to look and transition from pat and go to in a game. Pat and go to in a game. That's exactly what we're looking for. And then securing it out of bounds. So good throw, really good air on the ball too. If you ever are not completing balls in pat and go, you're not good at it, you can get your quarterback to be real accurate real quick by just telling him to put more air on it. I mean, and the receivers do half the work as far as adjusting to the ball and being able to see, if they can see the ball come out of the hand, the better. But if you're not completing balls for some reason in pat and go, or it's not as good as you want to be, which it should be nearly 100%, probably you got to tell your quarterback put more air on it. This is a good example of that, putting air on it, letting it get up, and then go. All right, so here it is out of green, or out of early. And with that look where they're playing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish over our 3 over there, he's kind of looking to go to the one-on-one over here, hard inside leverage. Again, you can tag a route. So you can tag an out or you can tag a stop, whichever one he feels more comfortable with. I wouldn't start on the Z. I know we talked about starting on the Z with press versus some press looks. That strong safety being that far on that hash, it kind of eliminates that. If he was over the Y, it's possible to just try and throw a vertical to the field to the Z, but it's tougher. Just tags a stop. Completes it and goes on. Again, does it here as well. This is 0, essentially covers 0. Tags a stop. Try and get to 1. Here he takes a hitch. This is real smart. It's 3rd and 1. Real soft up top on the single. If he did work the field, I kind of like that grass right there as far as just taking the, thinking about the Y, kind of getting into there. If the safety comes down real hard on it, then you're going Y to H down the seam, to the back. If he did wall with the seam, get to the back on the flat. But here he's tagging a hitch to the single just because the corner's so soft. Get you a first down on a 3rd and 1 real easy. Try to get the one where, all right, here's one where he takes a vertical to the X up top. It's tight enough. It's inside 4 yards essentially there, where he's not necessarily tagging anything. He's not in his own turn stance. He's squared up with the X right here. Makes you think it's man. So sticks a route. I don't know if you can tell. He sticks right there. He's getting walled too far. This is week 1. And the quarterback puts air on it, throws it out, which is good. This is questionable as far as what you want the H to do. Probably should sit, but I don't hate him for going vertical. A lot of times we won't get mad at him if he tries to haul it. There's certain times where we don't like it, but I mean, if it's in that scenario right there where it's, keep going. All right, this is a real good example. It's not complete, but it's a real good example of throwing the back shoulders versus the man turns. He's gonna take his one-on-one up here based off alignment, and the corner man turns with him. Now you can see there in that picture he is ahead of our receiver, so he's man turned. He's flipped his hips quickly, and to the point where this team's more athletic than us. Generally year to year, and he's on top. You can see right there he's on top. So where do you want to throw this thing? You want to throw it on a line and just throw it on the white. Just hit him right in that white area on, essentially just throw him a dart, a line drive right down the field. So he sees that, throws a line drive, and you can see where that ball's placed right. It hits him right on the chest. And I wish we had that one for a completion, obviously, just because it was such a pretty throw and really good decision to throw that. And I don't know if we've had another quarterback in the 6 years we've been running this offense that has made this type of throw. But man turn, back shoulders it, and it should have been a score. That's when you want to throw it. And I think it's real pretty. Get to some goal lines down here too. So you also can tag some stops and different things on the goal line. This is out of blue. We'll run it out of blue as well, just in different spots. He's going to push, work back. Now we're tagging stops on the goal line, kind of aiming for that front pylon as far as where to get back to. And, you know, that's throwing 6 down there. There'll be times where we're throwing actual fades. Let's see if I can get that's a real good clip of a tag. All right, here's one where we replace blitz. I'll show this real quick too, because we talked about the Y kind of replacing blitz. He tags a stop. So he tags a stop over here to the single receiver. But, you know, if this one blitzes, the first one inside the Y replaces. He blitzes, Y replaces. He probably yells, screams, hot. We replace it. We end up scoring on that too. But that shows you the blitz beater of it. But I'll get to some goal lines. Should get the Y. I thought I had the goal lines here. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. My bad. All right, so here's a goal line fade up top. And we're running. This is a 3rd and 2. I think we were, you know, 1st and goal in the 5, ran it, got a yard. 2nd and goal in the 4, ran it, got a yard. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, all right, let's throw it now on 3rd down. So we call 4 verticals. Our receiver up top is really, 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 really good at slow releasing inside that goal line area, firing his feet, making you think, jabbing, giving you all sorts of head fakes, and then releasing, which is kind of what he's doing here. So he jabs. There's the space, you know. So man turn, obviously, man coverage on the 2 here, but our quarterback sees the space, and then, you know, we work a lot of goal line back shoulders as well. We do one-on-one periods throughout the week. And one of those one-on-one periods is going to be goal line heavy. So we'll throw slants, stops, verticals, all that stuff inside the 5. And right here, you know, got that man turn. You can see where he's open. You can see he's open over here. That's where the body is. So he just throws it into that spot. And there's your back shoulder goal line vertical for a score. And there'll be other times where, you know, here we had something else on. I'm not exactly sure. But he changed the play, got us into 6 because this corner presses down here at the bottom. Again, our receiver down here is really, really good at doing those slow releases inside the goal line. Fires his feet, jabs, and you can see him jab right there. Swipes. And this is kind of textbook as far as 1 step back, throwing it up, and throwing the fade ball for a score. I like 4 verticals on the goal line. I know a lot of people don't like throwing goal line fades. We work it a lot. I want it to be a fairly reliable play for us, and I want us to be pretty good at it. So we do work it quite a bit.
Question here, Coach. Yeah. If you have like your dude, like your guy, where would you play him, and does that factor into the concept at all?
Not really, as far as it factoring into the concept, because it's such leverage based. You can't, you know, that's why I'm not a real big fan of the old school scan left or right on 4 verticals every single time. I mean, if your matchup's to the right, you better start to the right. Just take it. But, you know, we have played our best one at various different spots. We try to figure out what he best fits. Right now, he's our Z. If you look at, like, old traditional air raid guys, it's also moved around quite a bit. The best receiver for Washington State last year was Brandon Arconato. He was a Y. Wes Welker was an H. Michael Crabtree was a Z. Justin Blackman was a Z. Back when Connor Halliday was lighting it up early at Washington State, Vince Maley was their best one. He was an X. So it doesn't really matter. But if I had to guess, I would put him at Y or Z. For the most part, Y or Z for us. Our best two last year were our X and our Z. Our outside receivers were by far our better receivers. They were a little older and more experienced. But as far as where you place them, kind of up to you. The way I think of it, if we're in, if we're in 2x2, if we're in 2x2, which, this is all jacked up now as far as the routes, but regardless. If we're in 2x2 X, we kind of want it to be a straight line, kind of fast guy. That was not necessarily what our X was last year. He was a really good route runner for us, and the best that we had at the pat and go, over the shoulder, to the hard side, looking it into your hands receiver, which is why we played him at X, because we could throw him the fade ball on 95 and him be able to make that catch. We'd throw him one-on-one fades on 6 and him, like you saw, him be able to make that catch. So that's why we put him there. The H is generally for us a smaller, quicker guy. That was where Wes Welker played. That's kind of the type we want, a true quick slot receiver. If you have a big tight end and you want to play him as a receiver, he's, say he's you got something in that mold, we play him a Y. The Y's got to really understand space and zones and be smart and use his body. Does not necessarily have to be a burner. Technically, generally, our H is faster than our Y. Our Y is a little bit bigger than our H. But, again, like I said, Arconato played it last year. He necessarily wasn't a big guy, but really smart, really good route runner, really clean. And then the Z's got to have to be your possession guy / your do-it-all kind of guy, because he's going to be singled up for us when we get in late. He's going to be working one-on-one matchups. He's going to be getting a lot of tags. Same with the X, obviously, but he's going to be running, your post digs on your cross play and understanding zone and stuff like that. So, yeah, we've played our Z as our best one. The main reason we've done it that way is because he's singled up. He's singled up in late, and he's also, a good option for us when we're in 2x2. Now, if you want to do this thing, you want to run this old school air raid style where you call it, ace flip when you get to trips left. An ace flip moves the Z between the X and the H. That's ace flip. If you want to do it that way, put your best one at Y. So now your Y is inside getting sticks, corners, your cross play, all that stuff, and he's also singled up when you're in 3x1. If you want to do it the way I'm doing it, where it's late instead of ace flip, play your best one at Z.
Got a question here, Coach. Do you ever switch landmarks between the receivers?
Like a switch tag, I assume is what they're talking about.
His example was X on the hash and H down the numbers.
Yeah, like a switch. No, we don't do much switching. We've done switch before, which is not really how you. Well, I guess that's how you would call.
I'm trying to think of technically how you would call it, but no, we've done in the past. It worked out pretty well for us. In all honesty, we did it back in maybe 2015, the real low percentage year as far as our completion percentage go. But when it hit, it was a big one. But no, we haven't been doing it for a couple of years. But it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of run and shoot guys that do it and love it. I always switching those outside guys and run them on seams. We just don't do that. So, you guys got any more questions on that too? Shoot them my way. If you guys want to see more of this cut ups and stuff, but basically I've shown you, I'll show you some motion real quick because I know we're running long here. Wait, try to figure out where I put that. All right, so when we're doing the motion, the way we do it is pretty much always we're always motioning the inside guys, the H or the Y. So if we go ace, H move, 6, it turns into early 6. And that's really good by the H as far as how he hits this. Kind of hits it and then rolls it right up the seam. And he, for the most part, with this, we don't mess with it too much as far as, because it's hitting on the move, there's no like start on the H, start on the Z or whatever. We want him to go YH back when we go ace, H move, or ace, Y move, which would get us to late 6. We want him to go YH back. Now, he can tag a route to the single. Say he's got a real soft corner pre-snap, and he's got, we're going to run ace, H move 6, but he still wants to put that X on a hitch. He can do that. Put him on a stop, he can do that, and then just confirm if he moves at all after the motion. But we want to start with the Y. So, again, this is back in 17. This is a real good example of getting on the Y. Right down the gut. Safety moves over with the motion anyway. That's a good example of that.
Got one for you, Coach. Defenses are starting to zone turn and still play man coverage. How would you scheme against that?
Yeah. Again, I think it's more based off your leverage too, as far as where he's at. I think that's hard to do because you can't see him. If you're zone turning, again, we're really wanting him. You got to figure out how deep he is, but we're wanting him to get into that blind spot behind his butt where you can't see him, and then drop out and kind of get lost in that area. So depending on if he's zone turned, then he flips his hips to get back to man. That's really hard to do. Or you can just, if he's zone turning, giving out, again, try and make him make that real hard transition and do it faster than our guy knows what route's coming and everything. It's just hard to play that. It's real soft in a zone turn. Give a hitch. If you want to leave it vertical, if we see that on film, like he zone turns, but then he flips his hips or whatever, and you want to leave him vertical, leave him vertical. I mean, we've thrown verticals on a zone turn before, and a lot of times that works out really well too, because I don't like to do it as a base, but if you're zone turning and he's here running the vertical, and you're looking at the quarterback, you got no clue where he's at as he sticks or fades. You throw that thing over the top, and a lot of times he just loses it and he'll score. But I didn't pull any clips on that, but I'm sure we got plenty of clips of us throwing fade versus a zone turn by mistake, most likely, but probably turned out fairly well. Here's one where we got the motion. Man, well, see, this is that. This is exactly that, where it's not great technique, but he zone turns, but he's playing 0. They're playing 0 on us. He tagged a stop. And you can see it kind of just gets lost in that back hip. And again, a stop's not a bad thing to throw against man, even press man. There's times where, you're going with him, and then you get to the top of your route, you swipe on that back, let him keep going and stop. And if that ball's thrown on real good timing, and we're throwing a lot of stops too in routes on air, getting a really good timing of, he's sitting in that, see, he's starting to boom, 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 throw it down. Our quarterback's already gunning this thing out. And that's, you get the timing down. It's just hard to match that timing. That would be a zone turn, playing man. Here's one where he got to the back underneath because that flat defender walls with 2, drops underneath. Not bad on a 3rd and 2, gets you a first down. Here's one with a motion. In the corner down here on the bottom, as soon as the motion goes, this corner down here steps up. Man. takes the fade over the top for a score. So, yep. That's some different looks at it there. And another real similar scenario here. We're going ace, Y move, getting to late. And Z up top's got press. Lets it go vertical. Again, real good air, real good foot fire at the top, and a stick right there's a real good stick. Good air. And over the top. As far as down the bottom, H is okay to do either one. I don't want him to do that, not be decisive. I'd rather him run or be decisive and sit. But even with that guy walling back, if he did work the field, off the motion, going YH back, Y gets collisioned, H is kind of unsure. You drop it to the back right there. That kid, let him get out here. It's good stuff. All right, Coach, if there's any questions.
Yeah, obviously, if anybody has any, feel free to drop those in the chat. I don't know where Coach went. I think he might have. I think he might have accidentally ended it. That's all good. Honestly, Coach did a tremendous job and went a lot longer than he probably may have anticipated. So I appreciate him for doing so. And, supplying another great presentation for all of us as coaches. A ton of great information. We got to a lot of questions. Obviously, if you have any questions for him to follow up with this presentation, feel free to reach out to him on Twitter. I'm sure you could find him. I posted a bunch about he was speaking, and he's in, his name is in the lineup, so you could just click his handle and reach out to him that way. But I want to thank him for coming on, and really want to thank all you coaches for checking in, man. And for a 9 a.m. session to get over 100 some people in here was awesome. So thank you guys for doing that, and we're going to continue this thing going forward. We got another full day of lineup, and we'll keep it rocking. So I'm going to leave this open for just a minute. I believe Coach's his computer accidentally logged him off, so he's getting back on here. But once again, guys, thank you so much for your time, man. And, we'll see you at the 11. And keep getting better, man. Stay safe out there.